So let's have a quick look at the AMA questions.
Let's see. Do you think there was a missed opportunity to share in the hype during the period of the Doge father? I can answer that quickly, and then you can chime in. Feel free if you'd like.
Yeah.
I would
Go
say
ahead.
yes, absolutely. There was. We did get a pretty good hype with the first post that we did, and another round of hype, I guess you could call it, with the second post that we did. I believe the first one got around like 2.3K upvotes on the Doge forum. And then the second one, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was pretty up there. We could have capitalized on that a little bit more, yes, but at the same time, people were more concerned about just getting Dogecoin itself from the SNL, and a lot of the Doge, I guess you could call it, was priced in by the time that the SNL was already going. Did you want to say something about that, Owen?
Yeah, like the reality is when it comes to other subreddits, I mean, we're guests on there, and we're not Dogecoin. So we did have a couple of posts I recall were actually taken down as the moderators didn't want to see something that wasn't Dogecoin on the Dogecoin subreddit. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's unfortunately their home. We're just a guest in it when we're posting on there, and I think really, see, we're not aiming to be an actual meme coin. I think if I was Shiba or Akita or any of those, and yeah, I probably would have went for it a lot harder. That's the stuff you kind of need to get to hype your coin up. For myself, I didn't see, like, I was happy to see that we're getting a bit more traction, a bit more attention coming in, stuff like that. But similarly, we had a lot of people buy in that were looking for a meme coin that just pumps randomly, and obviously they didn't find it. So I think that there's a level of relief that we didn't take in a massive amount of new holders from it. Similarly, as we saw when we launched on Hotbit and they ran out of liquidity and people bought in at $1.50, thinking that this was going to be the next thing to go to 20 grand a coin, stuff like that. And it just results in a massive amount of FUD being placed into one of your Telegram channels, on Discord, etc. It's from people that don't know what they're buying. And this is kind of the issue that I have with Elon Musk at the moment. He is selling something to people and they don't know what they're buying. Dogecoin, like, he's been talking recently about how he's working with the Doge dev team to see how they can make it more efficient, more scalable. And the way to make it more efficient and more scalable is to not be a blockchain 1.0 coin anymore. Like, there's nothing that you can kind of do while keeping it in its own same ecosystem that you're able to actually, hard fork onto it without just destroying it. Like, Dogecoin, like all blockchain 1.0 coins, are essentially an asset more than anything. They don't have any smart contract functionality or anything of the likes in it. And I think that this mis-selling is what's causing people to buy in at these absolute parabolic heights, and then they have to ride that wave the whole way back down. So, yeah, sorry, a bit of a long-winded answer to what's more of a simple question. But I think when it comes to like getting hype during meme periods, there's positives, and that, yeah, everybody likes to see price action, particularly upwards price action. But there's also negatives in that a lot of people buying simply don't know what they're buying, and they wind up simply leaving the project after a very short amount of time anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. The second question: do you think there were shortcomings on the part of the team in the post liquidity pool period? I would say yes. There were some shortcomings on my behalf. Yeah, absolutely. We could always do things better than they were done before. It is rather difficult also to tell you guys exactly what happened when there are still things in the works. And yeah, I mean that's all I have to say about that right now. There's more things in the works, but some of them did fall through during that time when I was expecting them not to. Owen, did you want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, and I noticed you jumped in there and you said, like, on your part, I mean, the team, we share equal it's equal blame when something goes wrong, and equal celebrations when things go right, so everybody can take their part of that. There were a lot of things that were organized for that weekend, and one by one things just started falling through, unfortunately, and it kind of culminated in us. We had about I think there were about 5 or 6 things we had confirmed as ready to go, which fell through at the last minute. You might correct me if I'm wrong, Skyler, but I think that was the number we were at where they were just falling through one by one.
Yeah,
And
that's
yeah,
definitely correct. I mean, like just alone, the Satoshi Street Bets Ask Me Anything was definitely one of them. Another one was the Bingus critical thing as we were working it out with him, which if you attended the Bingus Ask Me Anything, Mike did let everybody know, and it is public info now since he let everybody know that we are doing something awesome with them that does somewhat involve what we said on Saturday. So that, along with the other 3 or 4 things, makes up to about 5 or 6 that we actually had going on. So yeah, we did have quite a few things that were set up for that weekend.
yeah. Similarly on that one, then, like, we're not sitting on top of all these things now, waiting for stars to align or anything like that. We're hoping that we can get these rolled out kind of as quickly and in as kind of public a fashion as we can. Like, this is stuff that we want to get out to yourselves. We know that you've been waiting a while for more news from the Dojira team and to see a little bit more marketing from us as well. And even though the market is taking a little bit of a downturn at the moment, this isn't going to stop us from pushing forward with what we're, building in the background and what we're going to start building on publicly. Like this, I mean, even if this market stays red for a while or goes sideways for a while, or even if, we find ourselves, God forbid, in a bear period, but, they do happen. And if it does happen, this is still stuff that we're going to run forward with. Like, projects can still be built extremely successfully when the market is down. And, we say market is down. I mean, a couple of months ago, this would have been considered like an absolutely parabolic leap to reach this level. And yeah, it sucks when you see it go back down. But this is all stuff that, yeah, would have been brilliant if it all happened while the market was green. But unfortunately, things were out of our control. They just kind of slipped through the fingers, and that was it. It's a problem with working with a lot of external parties, that as much trust as you may have in that party and, having things confirmed with professionals, etc., things can unfortunately just get away from you sometimes. And yeah, these things do fall through. Very unfortunate that so many happened at the same time. And yes, the team does believe that. See, it's difficult to say that the team could do a lot about that one, as we were kind of prepped for a full weekend. But I think in future, we just need to kind of maybe vet a couple of our sources a little bit better and make sure that we're better prepared coming into things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. On that note as well, while we do have things in the works, it is rather difficult to say, hey, by the way, we had these things in the works, but it just didn't go through. And then, we're asked, okay, well, what are those things? Well, some of them, if I, told everybody, now suddenly it's confirmed that, we're doing X, Y, and Z, when, I mean, that's just not the case. We were trying to do this and it was confirmed on our end, but it just didn't end up going through. With everything else, we would of course be transparent about with those other things. It's like, I don't want to confirm anything that's not actually confirmed. Leads rumors, etc., especially if it's coming from like the team.
Yeah, and on top of that one as well, I mean, I know that you all want more information, but like there's 2 sides of it. Number one is that on some things we are under a non-disclosure agreement and we simply can't talk about those. On the second then, the minute that we announce or confirm anything, it'll be immediately priced in. And I know that's fantastic for the people who are in the chat room at the time, that kind of stuff. But what do we do after that point? Like, we announce that we're doing something, it'll be priced in, so the price will jump up. The price will probably dip on the day that we actually do it, because you've bought the rumor, you've sold the event or the news, whichever you'd prefer to kind of, whichever way you kind of prefer to put it. But when we have news to actually release, we'd prefer to release it when, it's a good time to release it. Not kind of confirming ahead of time that, there will be news on Friday and it's about X, Y, and Z, and just kind of building up this perpetual hype machine, which inevitably will lead to buying the rumor and selling the news. So that's one thing that we do take into mind, albeit again from a developer position. I don't develop with the price point very much in mind. I like to see that the developments are what will reflect in the actual price. So when we're building value, that value will be shown in the price that we have. When it comes to announcements and things like that, yes, I'm very excited for them. I'm excited to see how everybody will react to them. But I'm, equally careful in stating that, we're not building this to just get a magic number to shoot up higher for no reason at all, but a rumor. And that's why I'm very particular in actually releasing information before it's actually ready.
All right, let's see. We know that the team is a master in the technical part. What do you think of long-term marketing competence? And I'm going to combine it with are there plans to be supported by marketing professionals? There are things in the works with that. Owen, I can be a little bit more transparent with that if you don't mind. But yeah, there are things in the work with that right there.
Yeah, it's best going to leave it as in the works. We are reaching out to additional partners. As the reality is, when we're marketing in the crypto space, we need to have as much support as we can possibly get. And one thing that I think the team needs more right now are simply more hands on deck. And yeah, we are reaching out to partners who can assist in that area and assist us in bringing the marketing up extra levels on top of what Skyler is already doing for us. And of course, we have a couple of partnerships we'll be levying on as well in that area. That's about as much as we can kind of give on that right now. We'll be able to give a little more information on it soon in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Keep in mind, it's not just partnerships, the partners that we have currently, but we're talking about just in general. It's different companies, etc. How does the team see communication with the community in the future? Would you like to answer that, Owen?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I know it's something that like you always want to see a 100% transparent team, and I absolutely get that. I like our team to be as transparent as we possibly can be. And I think up until really last week, we did an extremely good job at that, in that all our ducks were in a row. And when things were falling through, there were things that we had basically never even spoken with the community about, like small little events that we had planned, or like, you know, YouTubers that we were working with, stuff like that. I mean, a lot of stuff fell through over the last couple of weeks, but we never really had to mention it because there was no event that it was leading up to. These were just going to be released. And I think with it coming up to the date of the liquidity pool, there was a high expectation of events dropping on that date. And I think once that did drop through, and we couldn't really speak too much about it, as some of them are postponed, some of them are cancelled in full, but we couldn't speak a whole lot about it because we would, again, it's selling a rumor, that kind of thing. It's like we do try to be as transparent as we possibly can, but when things just really don't go your way for a full week, and coupled in with the general disheaval that you would have in a very red market, I can understand how absolutely frustrating that is when you're, you know, sitting in a Telegram room waiting for some information. I mean, 100% I do. And anything that we can speak to you about, we will always speak to you about in full. We're happy to continue. I mean, I think we might even host these AMAs a little bit more often, just to kind of have a proper kind of community event that we can actually sit in and run through all of these things and assuage any kind of concerns that you have on it as well. But if you think that there's anything that we can kind of improve, you know, in that area, definitely do let us know. But of course, there are certain things that, as I said, we simply can't be 100% transparent about. We can't state what CEXs we may or may not be working with, as nearly all of them are under NDA. And even if they weren't under NDA, the minute we mention it, it'll be priced in, and that would be it. We'd start seeing action over something that's not happened. And what happens then if that deal falls through? Like, let's say, for example, if we were working with, let's say it was Binance, and I'm just going to say out loud, as I said a lot of times, it is not Binance. But let's say we were working with Binance, and let's say they wanted the entirety of the liquidity pool, and that was it. They needed the full value of that to go live. And then the market comes down, and all of a sudden we have 55% less, and, you know, we have to turn around and say, yeah, we don't have that anymore. I'm sorry that you've already priced it in. Get ready for a dump. That kind of stuff. So we do try to keep as absolutely transparent as we possibly can be without having that kind of impact on pricing and stuff like that. So it is difficult for us as well when there's things that we can't talk to you about, like the stuff that we're really excited about coming up in the very near future. Some of which I can actually share on this AMA today, as we've just gotten the copy sent over, which is brilliant. We'll talk about that in a little bit, Skyler, the thing that we're launching. And yeah, so some things we can talk about immediately, other things we like to keep it until it is ready and time to go. And I think the frustration that's kind of felt is that there was a big lead up into the week of the liquidity pull, and just so many things fell through. And that's kind of why we felt, you know, we felt the disappointment from the community. We felt it ourselves. And I think everybody can sit here and say, like, that should have gone better. And I think with it in hindsight, we will be doing much better beyond this, and kind of better planning out these events and making sure that we have things in concrete before there's any hype built up around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this whole communication stuff too, I personally, I'm more community than marketing. Yes, like I'm doing like a mix of both, but in what I'm trying to say more or less is I want to give you guys as much news as possible because during the times in 2017, 2018, even lately, like with other projects, I want to know more information as well. Like I'm a part of you guys. I want to know more. But now that I have all of this information hoarded, I can't give it out to you guys because of these certain things that we're trying to have in place, NDAs, etc. And so you can guarantee, I can guarantee rather, that I'm going to be a thorn in Owen's side trying to ask them, hey, can you announce this? Can you announce this? I'm just gonna try to give you guys more information. I heard one of the questions here as well, not heard, but I saw them asking if we could kind of piece together, not piece together, but like take certain parts of the white paper, take certain parts of the project, updates on Medium, and give it updates just like maybe like a YouTube video development update. I would think that it would actually be pretty good to have these updates in these Ask Me Anythings, which we could have like every month or something, just kind of spitballing here. But absolutely, we'll see more communication on our behalf. And yeah, I mean, that's about it.
Yeah, just to touch on something you said there with video content and stuff like that. Like that's one of the more fantastic things about Dojira, in that we're working on so many visual systems that, if we're working inside games development, we're working on NFTs. This is all stuff that we can start kind of giving previews of or show you how it's made, stuff like that. So I think that's a really good thing to kind of mark down into our plans for when we're moving forward and having a bit more transparency about what we're working on. Once we get into, the deeper side of development, or when we're making our NFTs, etc., we can put through a couple of videos just showing, how we, excuse me, how we do it, and how we can, like how you'd be able to do it as well, like nearly a mini tutorial on minting an NFT, that kind of stuff.
Right. And the next one, would the team be open to more participation by the community in certain choices for the future? Yes, I would have to. I can go ahead and handle that, but yes, absolutely. More to come on that in the future. Let's see. Next one. How much of the white paper / website is actually done? If that can't be answered, is there some type of updated timeline?
Yeah, I'll handle that one.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we obviously we had a team member depart us today who wasn't able to commit full time to the project. I'll be taking over the white paper from that, and I'll be getting it completed. There is a decent amount of the white paper done, but a lot of the issues kind of came about today, and not being able to be full time on the project, having to leave. On Chris's side, it wasn't as far along as we would have liked it to be, and I'll be taking over on it from there. On the website side, so I'm currently working on that, and I'm hoping that it will be completed in the very near future. Obviously, the white paper will add on a little bit more to my workload outside of just other things, which thankfully I have Skyler and Dan to help me out on as well. But we should be able to, hopefully actually drop these on the community very soon. I don't think that there will be any additional delay added onto it, to be honest. Like the website is in very good shape at the moment. Being honest, it would nearly be ready to launch. There's just a couple of things that I nearly need to fix up on it. This was in a great position to get launched really last weekend, but there was so much that was kind of falling through at that point that we opted to kind of wait off on it until we got it fully fixed up and ready to go. Ideally, in a perfect world, I would have liked it to drop at the same time as the white paper, which is why it kind of led to putting a delay on it, and maybe we would have said, launch the two of them at the same time in another week. But I think that they're both in a very good position right now to see completion in the very near future. I don't want to put an exact date on it, but I would be very surprised if both of them did not drop within the next 3 weeks.
Let's see. Next one. For full transparency, have team members been selling and / or buying in the recent weeks? I have a personal stack that I bought in when the coin was very, very low, like less than a cent, and I haven't sold that. So I personally, on my behalf, like I haven't done anything with any of my Dojira.
Yeah, so one thing I would always generally say on this is when you're going up, you should probably shave off a couple of coins. I mean, I have suggested it to team members as well. Now, in saying that, my team allocation tokens are fine on it. Before I came onto the team, yes, I was buying and selling. Today, I bought coins. I find that the price was very low, and as I said, and I want to reiterate that I am not your financial advisor, etc., but I don't think this market is coming to an end. I think it's going to go sideways for a while, sure. And maybe I'm wrong as well. Maybe it will come down. But this is a project that we're building with the long term in mind. It doesn't bother me if I'm buying in today and it turns out I could have bought in, 10 times cheaper in another couple of months in a bear season or anything like that. But I think that like eventually these will be worth a lot more than they're worth today. And if it does come to it that they're much cheaper in a couple of months' time, great, I'll buy some more. But for general team members, we all have our own stacks we have bought in with, and there's team allocated tokens on top of it. The team allocated tokens are a little bit more kind of strictly looked at in, how you sell them and stuff like that. And particularly when it comes to our own personal allocations, there are certain times, i.e., if it's in the middle of a parabolic leap, things like that, we say, no, leave the coin if it's in price discovery mode, particularly if you have a heavy amount of coins or anything like that. But as a general, I'll just kind of speak for the full team on that one, that I think if you're invested in the project, I don't have any problems with anybody selling a couple of tokens. I would like every team member to remain with a couple of tokens to keep them vested, as in enough tokens to keep interested in it. And we do keep an eye on that as well. But I won't give any branching statement or sweeping statement for the team on it, as, I mean, it's their money. If they've bought in and they want to sell, even if it's in a bad position, it is their money. And I will be honest on one front that when we were down around 1.6 cent, I did buy quite a lot of tokens around then. I'm not going to say quite a lot, not a whale amount or anything like that. It would be a couple of ether to try and hold the coin up at about a 2 cent point until I pretty much ran out of ether, and I pulled my other positions to hold it up there as well at that stage. That was kind of a scary moment for the token, that going down that low that early without news coming out, etc. I wanted to try and hold my own investment in it as safely as I could. As we went back up and we reached up to the 10-20 cent mark, I sold it off slowly, not enough to cause any dips or anything like that, but I had other positions which I had to hold up. We all trade in crypto, and I think it would be, I just don't think any team that would tell you that they will never sell any tokens is a team you should trust. Everybody has their own stack of tokens in projects that they like, and even sometimes in projects that they dislike. In the ones that they like, they'll be a lot more reluctant to sell tokens in it. But at the same time, this is practically its own market. It's its own ecosystem. People do have to sell tokens in order to actually make money from it, especially with people who are full-time. It's all well and good for me to, sit here and tell people, oh, never sell your tokens. I make an income. For other people then, a lot of even early investors who have shaved off as they've went up, I think that's very healthy. I don't like seeing people holding, 1% of the supply or more when we're going up into, high price targets and stuff like that. I like to see them kind of shave off and get, bought up by smaller fish as we go along. It just distributes the coin a lot better, in my opinion. And team members who would typically get allocated team tokens, which would be in, the higher percentiles, those are ones that I say, yeah, when the coin is moving up, you should start distributing that outwards. And, once the token is big enough, hopefully you'll be able to take your pay from it, stuff like that. Because that's just my opinion on it, as kind of from a project lead front. I know we have Dan on with us as well. Do you want to add anything to that, or do you think we're all good from there?
I just want to say thanks everyone for your patience. I didn't really want to add on to your comment there. I think you've pretty much answered it pretty well. But rest assured, we're going to definitely reevaluate things in the situation that we're in, and definitely focus more on providing a product for you guys to, really grasp. That's all I'll sort of say.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, man, you can get back to your workout and listen to myself and Skyler's soothing voices while you pump that iron.
Gosh.
Enjoy, man. Sorry, all right. Skyler, what have we got up next?
What exactly is native blockchain gaming, and how will Dojira, the SDKs from us, help with making that happen? Sorry, that You understood what he was saying there, right?
Yeah. I've got it. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the last time I answered this one with Bingus, I ranted for about 10 minutes on how great it will be. So I'll try to make it a little bit more succinct this time. So native blockchain gaming, so there's a couple of different things that you can really mean by just stating native blockchain gaming. One of them that will be you are literally playing the game on the blockchain, as in all the game logic is on the blockchain, which is incredible. I think that we are quite a bit away from that level of technology yet. I would state that native blockchain gaming for us is a deep integration with the blockchain at a native level, as in calling an API and then trying to, scrape a little bit of information off Etherscan or anything like that. It's actually writing to the blockchain and is capable of reading from it. So let's give a very basic example. One of the most basic I can think of right now would be logging into a game with your MetaMask. So this could be a browser game or it could be, a Steam game, anything like that. Well, Valve may not be so appreciative of a Steam game, but it could be a standalone executable as well. And instead of, having a pop-up going, log in with your Facebook, your Google, your Steam account, etc., just log in with your MetaMask. I mean, it's an identity that you can log in with, which is not deeply tied into, say, your social media or things that, a company could use to sell you batteries because it overheard you at some point, things like that. So fantastic from a privacy perspective. And I think it's also fantastic from an ease of use perspective. Being able to log in with your MetaMask. I mean, for me, my MetaMask is far more valuable to me than my Facebook account. And I have much quicker access to it too. Having an actual way to log in with that and being able to store my own data, on the blockchain as a save game data, or even just small things like a username, things like that, I think is a fantastic way to introduce the blockchain into gaming. But it's certainly not where you would take it, say, at a limit. That is a basic integration of it. So let's think about something that would be more complex on it. So let's say, for example, anti-cheat. Anti-cheat is... There's a lot of different ways to integrate that right now, but the most common way of doing it is having, say, a replay system in any game. So Fall Guys is nearly the game I always go to when it comes to talking about anti-cheat, because they got it so wrong at the beginning. So you're talking, Battle Royale style, you have 100 players in at any one time. And if there's one cheater in it, because of the nature of the game being physics and movement based, you're going to wreck a match if you're cheating it, and you only need one player to do it. So in Fall Guys, it was pretty normal for a player to be able to fly, to be able to push up seesaws while you're on the other side of it, to be able to just push into you, or anything like that. It basically meant that if there was a cheater in your game, you were finished and the game was over. So the problem is that whenever this happened, on their Twitter, they'd always announce that, we do find these people. We run a replay system every time that, a cheater is reported. And, half an hour or an hour later to get banned. And yeah, that's great for weaning them out bit by bit. It's not so great when a lot of the accounts that are being used to cheat can often be hacked or, bought at a discount or anything like that. So when it does happen, you're talking half an hour of one person wrecking games. So how many 100 people have they bumped into during that time? Now, there are better systems available than that one. I believe they're now working with, or have worked with, Epic to get Fortnite's anti-cheat into it, which is a lot more robust, requires a lot more server resources as well, but definitely a lot more useful than, replaying a game. But on the flip side of that then, what if you were to use the blockchain to do it? I mean, Ethereum is always advertised as the world's supercomputer, but we don't really use it like that. We use it for minting tokens, doing some, cool tokenomics, albeit, but tokenomics all the same. We have tokens and we've tokenomics, and it doesn't get a whole lot more use out of that. We've got staking, obviously, little things like that, but typically that just means you're getting more of another token. When you actually use it in the way it's kind of intended to be used and running actual logic on it, let's say we had a game of Counter-Strike or what have you going on it. Somebody is actually flying through the air, shooting people. So what if a player could, spot that and just send a report onto the actual blockchain of their movement vectors? Or what if a central server just sent out the command to say, okay, look, everybody put through a request onto the blockchain, send me your movement vectors. So it captures them for, 4 or 5 frames and sees, what way are they moving during that time? Is it coherent with actual game logic? So that can run on the blockchain, be verified on the blockchain, and send the results back on to every player in the match. So the problem with doing that currently, if you did that, offline or anything like that, is that you could very easily just, help the hacker. You could just put into like, if I get any requests that comes in, I need to always respond and state that they're moving in a consistent, coherent way, and all perfect, brilliant. Depending on the actual exploit that's in use to do it, I mean, the hacker could send back, 20 requests themselves, and there's 20 players in it. It got 20 times said no, they're moving fine, and that's it. When the request is sent onto the blockchain, it can be verified that 20 requests went onto the blockchain from different sources on each one of them. A different MetaMask put all of these through, or we can even do additional checks, like on our end, saying is it a different IP address sending the request, etc., or even just tie it to another cryptographic signature. But they all go through onto the blockchain. It is then verified by somebody completely different. They're just mining on the Ethereum network or, any other network on top of that. They send it back on to the players then. The players report it, and we can go with a 51% in that area then, or it can just be sent directly back to the server, so there's absolutely no room for interference on it. With that, you're able to do this in real time, and you only use it when you need it. It's like a cloud computer, except you're paying by the instruction rather than, by the second or by the minute or by the hour, stuff like that. So when it comes to things like that, I think that it's an absolutely fantastic technology that will see a lot of very genuine use. I mean, I think the industry in general is going to go in that direction in actually having the blockchain run these very computationally expensive commands on it, particularly when it comes to anti-cheat, things like that. Another such example then is, say, even currency. And again, this is one that's been used once or twice in a more centralized fashion, but you can be logged into a game world on the overworld, go up to a shop or even go up to another player and initiate a trade. That trade can then be done on the actual blockchain itself. And this doesn't have to just be, the actual currency, the tokens that you're trading. The items can be, NFTs. And with those items being NFTs, you then have access to not only the world's supercomputer, you've also got access to the world's super database. I mean, an NFT can have information stored in it that is showing basically how it went through the chain, how many different people held this weapon, how many mobs did it kill, how many people did it kill, how many times did it trade hands, stuff like that, even enchantments or, gems that you socket to it. Every single bit of that is in there. And see, the wonderful thing about all this is that these are simply enhancing systems that are already there. You don't need to learn an entirely new system. You don't have to, sit here and be confused about new blockchain mechanics or anything like that. If you have absolutely no interest in the blockchain at all you're getting are systems that are just working in a lot more interesting a fashion. I mean, I don't think anybody would complain if they picked up a weapon in the game and there was a button they could click to see, the extended history of it. It's not detracting from the experience, and for people who don't care about it, nothing has changed. You're just playing as normal. Like, I think a lot of the kind of FUD that comes around blockchain gaming is that there's a lot of people saying, it'll just be another way to sell you microtransactions and DLC, and it really isn't. There's no point in doing that. I mean, why would I bother charging you in cryptocurrency when I could just charge you in fiat? It's easier for me to get that. I mean, anybody can pay in fiat. Everybody has a debit card at this stage or a PayPal, etc. Like, I don't think that it's a valid use case at all to just say accept it instead of money. As much as, I think it will happen anyway, but I don't think it's the actual use case for it. The use case is actually leveraging what's essentially a supercomputer to do work for you and give you access to just far more computational resources than you can realistically sustain on, say, a cloud-based system or anything like that. Like, I think cloud-based gaming didn't really go the way we all thought it would. And we got some very cool things out of it. The Stadia was, I suppose, a little bit of a letdown, but the tech was pretty good. But I don't think it's really where gaming is going in the short term or the mid term. We have to kind of solve the problems of negative latency in essence to actually get that solved. Something Google touted for a long time. But I think that a lot of people do enjoy, at least at this period in time, having actual hardware at home. And particularly when you're looking at, say, the leasing cost of an RTX 3090, if you have an enthusiast rig, you're probably want to go into run games off of that directly, rather than leasing something to send it to you in 1080p. But when it comes to blockchain, it's completely outside of that. And this is just enhancing systems in a game. I mean, if I wanted to have the world's database on your machine, I'd need to fill up your NVMe drive 10 times over. This allows you access to something that you only need to kind of access when you need it. And given that gas prices come down and, you know, hit much more scalable levels, this is something that I think will enhance every game. Like, there's no genre I can think of that wouldn't benefit from being able to leverage a supercomputer. And that's, in essence, what native blockchain gaming is. And I am very sorry. I know I've probably gone on for, again, 10 or 15 minutes on the use cases for it. But I hope that does at least start to cover the type of things we can get into. And even other things then, like being able to merge NFTs and stuff like that. If you had, you know, we're seeing games already appearing on the Binance Smart Chain, where you, like, I think Pet is one of them, and I actually quite like that project, and they're doing really well for themselves. Unfortunately, like everybody, they've been hit in the current dip, but they have little things in it where, you know, you get pet tokens and you can feed them fruit tokens, and there's weapon tokens and little things like that. There was Pokemon on the Polkadot chain, and unfortunately, again, not doing great at the moment, but really interesting collectible. I'm not going to say card game. It's more. It's difficult to say Pokemon without just saying Pokemon. It's a lot more natural, but that you can, you know, collect them, you can hatch them, you get one at random. It might be rare, it might be common. You can sell it and stuff like that. And they're still working on their, you know, I suppose, your use cases around that point. Then, but the bare bones are starting to appear in them. And I mean, the reality is this tech is already there. It just needs better implementation. And that's what kind of has me the most excited for stuff like this, just the sheer amount of things we can do with it. And I think that it's really going to just be massive over the upcoming years. And being at the forefront of that, I find, at least, it's very exciting. Sorry, I will now pass it back on to you, Skyler.
You're good, man. You're good. I'm sure you probably already answered like 3 or 4 other questions that are asked in the chat just from that. I already see one that was answered. When is Mothra coming to save Dojira? I don't know, man. I don't think we need Mothra, though. Personally, what do you think, Owen? Do you think we need Mothra?
Didn't Mothra fight Dojira? I could be wrong. Yeah, I thought it was sworn enemies. We can make a Mothra token and you can both fight over it. I wouldn't recommend it. It's probably just going to half the price, but...
Let's see. Are there staff behind the scenes besides now just the 3 of you?
Yeah, so right now, at least, you know, on a more permanent basis, it is just the 3 of us. But we are working with other partners that we might be taking on short term, or we might be looking to take on some long term. Right now, it's just the 3 of us, in short. But we'll give you more information on it once we do have it available.
All right. Let's see. And how do you plan to stay competitive in the marketing area, considering other coins are running billboards, taxi car wraps, and news articles? So towards the start of all this, I was like, I was kind of floating the idea with the team, like, hey, maybe we should do a billboard. And then I was even thinking, hey, we could talk to the community. But then I decided to just go ahead and research the ever-living crap out of it. And there are like key areas that I identified. And a lot of those key areas that would get us a targeted audience of the crypto crowd of, it's like 21 through like 32 or something, that general range, they are really expensive. For example, in Times Square, for a day, you could get something that is pretty cheap, but it would be at night, and the majority of the time you have to sign contracts and such. But day one where it gets a lot of views, it's like upwards to $1 million to sign the contract saying, yes, I will have this up for like a month. And on top of that, the majority of New York, at least in my personal opinion, people don't notice those ads as much. It's a great publicity stunt. It's a great viral marketing tactic. But at the same time, it's like you're walking through a city, you're kind of desensitized to all the things that are going around you. And you have this big, bright billboard, and you're just, I'm not going to pay attention to that, even if it has a little, I think one of the coins did it recently. It was like a little picture of some cute dog thing, as, all the e-news or whatever, right? That are all coming out that are shooting up for no reason and then getting rugged immediately, right? So I did float that idea before, and the things that we have in the works right now, again, being vague, yes, they will be competitive compared to the other coins, but do please keep in mind that, man, a lot of these other coins they're built up just on the fact that they're meme coins. And so the people within that community, they know that they have to get this promoted. And so you have about 2,000, 3,000 people just running about saying, hey, buy this, buy this, buy this. And like, they reach out to their friend and their friends reach out to their friends. And then it just slowly spreads. And then you get more community members. And then that happens more and more. They know that this coin has no utility and it's kind of built up on the backs of other people's money, which, I mean, it's sad to see, but a lot of the coins are doing that, meme coins, etc. And so that is another reason why they're getting such great views on their coin. They're getting such, price action is because not only an active community, but the fact that they're kind of built up on that. If we're able to get a little bit more of like an active community on that, it will help. It will not, do it directly, but any type of community effort is always appreciated. You guys never have to do it. The more we have, the better outreach, etc. Owen, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. So I think Skyler covered a huge amount of it there. It's when it comes down to coins that have a very short lifespan or they're literally just built upon their own hype. I mean, I've seen a couple of them come in and they have massive funding from day one to be able to do this kind of stuff to a nearly frightening level. And yeah, they absolutely need to do this. I mean, I've said this a couple of times before. I'll say it again, but a lot of them are essentially just shaped like a Ponzi scheme. There are some of them now that have moved into utility, which I really appreciate, being honest, like when they're looking at doing their own dexes, their own exchanges, stuff like that, their own swaps. So appreciate that, but it makes me a little bit afraid when I see all these new coins popping up and they just want to get all the hype they can and the plan will come later. We'll make something later. Yet there's only so many dexes that are really going to work in the market at any one time. And yeah, I appreciate it'd be, that you want to make a dex or anything like that, but they seem to just be tacked on after the fact. And it's fair enough if that's the way it goes, that's the way it goes. But for me, I don't want to see our funding going towards plastering Times Square for 3 days, praying that it gets us a massive pump on it. And as devs in these coins have to do, they need to take a serious amount of profit just to, I say profit, they're just recouping their losses to begin with. But this often results with a very big red candle on the graph. Like, if you've bought into one of them and you did well, that's fantastic. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and kind of complain about what people buy in crypto. It is crypto and all the same in the end. And if that's what you're interested in and you enjoy those communities, then great. And I sincerely hope it keeps working out. But for me, once we do come into, bear season, all of these projects without utility are going to start dying off. Doge will always survive because that was the original meme coin. And even being honest on that one, that crabbed for a couple of years before coming back. If Elon Musk didn't start speaking about it, the richest man on earth, one of the most famous people on earth, I can't see it doing anywhere near as well as it did during this cycle. So yeah, when it does come to advertisements, stuff like that, we need to be deliberate in how we do it. That we need to have actual products to show off and we need to build actual value that's worth showing to people. I mean, yeah, it's all well and good to do a couple of small adverts here and there, and we're still working with partners and doing that kind of stuff. But we don't want to just blind you with information on it. Blind you with lack of information on it, really, just showing you a picture and shouting, you've got to buy it, and that's it. And alongside that, particularly with the market being as red as it is at the moment, we need to be careful in where we start kind of pushing forward on doing advertisements. If the market is it is absolutely bleeding out, which, I mean, being honest, the last 2 days, I think everybody, even myself having been in crypto since 2013, it is difficult to look at. And I don't think anybody looks at that market. Well, no, some do look at it and say, great time to buy, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people are tethered into their positions now, or they're, hardlining on the coins that they're supporting. And that money is not coming loose until the fear index, drops significantly back towards greed. And that's the reality. Right now would not be a very wise time to run massive advertisements that don't have any value attached to them. Now, we do have something coming up that we'll be able to speak about tonight. But again, this is something we're doing that has value and cause added to it. So yeah, we'll speak about that towards the end of the AMA. But we do have stuff that's coming up in the near future, which is relevant to what we're doing, not just plastering advertisements for no reason.
Yeah, well said, well said. Next question by Kayla. What specific uses do you have in mind for the coin itself? I believe we kind of answered that. I'm not sure if we went into the, any gaming economies in SDKs or tokenomics or anything. If you want to answer that, Owen, or unless we already answered that. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, sure. Because I did spot another question on there, and it would be, what does the actual Dojira token do? And that's actually, it's a really good question, because I don't think we've actually covered the token use rather than all the cool things that the SDK will do. So for me, I like to think of Dojira as basically being a gold standard. Now, that might be a sense of, you need to stake in your Dojira to make use of the actual SDKs that we offer, things like that. It might be in use as an actual currency in games we develop. But for me, I would like to see it actually being used as something that you're very encouraged to hold. So the reality is that when we launch our own titles, we likely have, mini economies that will be inside of those. And yes, they may use Dojira. There may also be side currencies that run off a side chain on it as well. And I'll just put in a hypothetical on it. So what if we made a completely new game? It had its own currency that was running on, say, a very cheap chain or anything like that. And what if you could only earn that through staking Dojira? So by holding your Dojira and staking it, you're able to receive, gains on top of your Dojira as normal. And you'd also be able to receive a brand new token that can't be earned, won't be able to be earned through, say, Pancake Swap or, whatever Cardano will come out with, Sunday Swap and, Bakery Swap, things like that. So this is something that you can practically stake as gold, because we want to ideally keep Dojira a little bit more. I suppose we want to make it useful for you to actually hold your Dojira. I think that when it comes to currency, unless Ethereum's new scaling systems are fantastic, it'll be very difficult to use as currency unless we want you to spend $30 in gas every time you're, buying a wooden pickaxe or anything like that. So this is all stuff that we currently have kind of in the works and we're speaking about at the moment and what would be the best way to do it. But the reality is that Dojira will always be the gold standard for us. We want that to be what we're actually developing for. So whatever we can do to kind of keep that value in Dojira as we expand our ecosystem, it's it's perfect for us.
I mean, absolutely. That's going back onto the other question about teams selling or buying their own tokens. That's one of the reasons why at the start I didn't sell, and even now my own personal tokens I don't sell, because I eventually want to be a part of those revenue streams that are going to be coming in and out of Dozier and their SDKs. Because why shouldn't I? I mean, the more tokens that I have, essentially, I'd be able to earn more. It would be that gold standard. And so, I mean, why sell now when I can get more later on through those passive revenue streams? The next one, how many more devs will be hired? Are there open positions, and what are the requirements?
Yeah, so right now we're speaking among the team on what would be best to do in that area and how we can best kind of buff up our development offerings on it. The typical requirements, it's kind of the thing with crypto. We found that there's a lot of brilliant Solidity developers who don't have, their formal computer science degree and stuff like that. And then there's people that we're finding that, have their computer science degree or have studied computer engineering, and crypto is not a strong suite at all. So this is something that we're speaking with among the team at the moment to see what we can do on it. We can tentatively say that yes, there is an open position, at least one that we would be looking to fill on it. But again, we're speaking among the team on how we would best be able to kind of fill the roles we have available right now, with the idea that, it's possible that the market may be going sideways for a little while.
And the next one, is there a short list of devs the team will be reaching out to?
Yeah, there's a couple of partners that we have at the moment. And see, the thing is, we don't want to, it's not a case of poaching developers from another coin or anything like that. It's more of a sharing of ideas and seeing what we can do with each other, that kind of stuff. Now, that's again it's a very vague, up in the air answer on it, because the reality is, we have a couple of people that we're kind of looking at. Whether they're available or not, that's a completely different story. And of course, we're extremely interested in anybody who does want to speak with ourselves and has development experience with Solidity or in games development, or really anything that they think they would be able to bring to the team with Dojira. And that doesn't have to be development related either. We're always looking to see who can come on and help out in those areas.
Next one, what are the next plans for marketing, and how do you plan to deal with the recent market crash and the threat it poses? For plans with marketing, we are going to mention a little bit of that tonight, and and for other ones, I absolutely hate the word soon, like entirely, but it will be. There are things in the works soon, yes, and of course, going back to the question of transparency, whatever falls through and is absolutely confirmed that it fell through, I'm going to float it by the team and see if I can tell you guys, hey, this happened, etc. But we do have some good stuff coming up. And then if you want to talk about the market crash and the threat.
Yeah, so I think we've spoken a decent bit about that one already on this. Like, the reality is that the market, it doesn't look great right now. And again, this is just my personal opinion on it, but I think that we might be going into a leg down, but I think we're going to be looking at a sideways movement. Like, I think I said about a week ago now that I think Bitcoin might have a really hard correction into 28k and then move sideways. The reality is, if that does happen, then market indicators would suggest that it will come back far stronger kind of later in the second half of the year, or maybe in early 2022. If that is the case of what's going on, that gives us a couple of months of sideways movement to kind of focus on development. And I know that people love chasing candles and seeing, making a little bit of quick profit here and there and seeing, great gains on their investment in a really short amount of time. But if it does come down to it, I mean, worst case scenario that we're going sideways for a while, or we're going into a bear season or anything like that, it's just development time for us. And it's time for us to kind of build that product that we, want to go to market with. So I think that when it comes to a kind of a threat to us, there isn't really one. We're going to keep developing. We might not see the numbers that we'd like to see, but as I said before, from a development perspective, and I know it's easy for me to say this because I'm developing on the project, but I just want to develop the value that we see reflected in token. And I think that will come even in a bear market. That can happen when you have a good enough product. And when it comes to the next bull cycle, or when we go into our second leg up of this one, we'll have something a lot stronger to run in with. So, yeah, I know we say the threat it poses, but I suppose to be that glass half full type of optimist, it's the opportunity it poses. Oh, no, I hate saying it myself, but it's not something that I'm looking at with tangible fear in my eyes. This stuff happens. It's a cycle. Crypto goes in cycles up and down. And I don't quite think this one is finished. But if it does go sideways or goes into a bear season, we just develop. And that's it. We keep working on our product in the background. And that's all I'd really see from it.
Sweet. You actually answered, I think, 2 other questions just from that below. Let's see. I think this was answered. How will you find a new dev, and what are the required qualifications? We just answered that, unless you want to expand a little bit more on it, Owen.
Yeah, it's like the news that we kind of gave today came pretty quickly from a discussion that was had earlier. So we haven't sat down really as a full team yet and decided, what direction we're going with in bringing on a new developer, and do we have any particular requirements that we'd have to put in on it. Like, obviously there will be some. You can't be a developer if you studied dance. Well, no, maybe you're a dancing developer. I don't know. That might work too. But we need to sit down and, I suppose, list out kind of what we need for the team at this point. What would be, hard requirements, what would be soft requirements on coming on board. For a lot of it, like, you can assume that you will need to have a decent bit of experience in building ERC20 tokens or BEP20 tokens, same thing. You'll need to have some experience with real-time systems, or, building, I don't want to say building computational systems, because technically you could tell me you built a calculator, and that counts. But we're going to have a proper chat about that, and we're going to see what we can do and reach out to a couple of our partners on it. But again, if you do have interest in coming onto the role, and you think that you might be able to assist in any area, be it in development or just even helping out on any other side of the project at all, even taking on one of a community role on top of it, like, this is all stuff that we'd love to hear from you on, and we'd be more than happy to see what we can do about getting people helping out around the place.
And for the structured AMA, monthly community AMA, I answered that prior to you coming in. For a brief summary for everybody else that came in after the fact, yes, we will be getting something set up with that. And also something set up with the state of development, possibly. I'll talk to them and we'll get it worked out. Who's currently holding the Dojira tokens that were bought with LP funds? Are they going to be used for marketing or kept/sold by team members as payment?
Yeah, so I know there has been hubbub on that one of, you bought them to repair the price. We didn't. I can tell you what that's for towards the end of this meeting. Those tokens are actually going to something. And they're all currently still within the liquidity wallet.
Okay, sweet, sweet. And do we have plans to, before the white paper is launched, do Medium post teasing out a piece of it? I was talking about that a little bit, or explaining our utility and use cases to new investors. I'm thinking yes, we can absolutely do that. Owen, what do you believe?
Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, a lot of the stuff that's kind of going in there, I've spoken about a couple of times now, and we'll just be kind of speaking about it on a more formal basis, I guess. And we'll see what we can do on that one. I'm hoping that from my side of it, I'm going to be focusing 100% on, making the white paper. But what I might do is I'll keep my team looped in on it with Skyler and Dan, and if they kind of see anything in there that they can pluck out to give a preview on, and I give the affirmation that, yeah, that bit is, at least 95% complete and correct, then we can run with it from there. I won't make any hard promises on it. As like I said, I will be focusing purely on doing the white paper, which might not, read very well out of context in areas. But again, if something is in there that Skylar or Dan thinks would look good on a medium before we can do the official release, yeah, I'm all up for that.
Okay. Why is there no fire on the Fireside chat? I don't know, man.
You just have to open Binance. I'm seeing a fire right now.
I see it all red.
Yeah.
What plans we have to capitalize on some of the publicity we've gotten recently? For example, Moist Critical tweeted about us, had tons of retweets. There's seemingly very little effect on the number of holders we have. If we continue to utilize marketing funds to have influencers publicize us, but it doesn't have impact. It doesn't impact us as much as we'd like to see. Will we do anything differently next time? So on the last part there, yes. Absolutely. If there's something that doesn't work and we've tested it, or we've seen that it just doesn't work when we've seen it work with other projects or other things, then absolutely we will. And the previous marketing questions that were asked, yes, there are things in the works. And there are things in the works to also capitalize on some of the publicity, which will be coming at the end of this Ask Me Anything. Let's see. Are we able to market Dojira by saying we have a former Doge dev? Yes, we are. And we have been doing that during the times where it counts. Like, for example, when we're doing the Doge father thing, or when we're doing anything related with Doge, like, yeah, of course we would. And yeah, we can continue doing that. The only issue with that I see is if we continue to market off of the fact that, yeah, we have this guy, and suddenly the market starts going bear, or if it continues to be red, that's all we've been known for. We're not basing it off of utility. I can tell you right now that during the 2018, 2017 time of the bear market and stuff, a lot of the blue chip coins, or coins with utility, they were being bought up. Like Engine, for example, was being bought up a lot. It got a lot more attention a little bit earlier this year, which I really wish I would have known about. Not known about, but I really wish I would have looked into it or something. But it went up from, I believe, like 20 cents or something to about $3 at max, and it's like hovering around $1.20 or something like that, roughly. But that one went up fast, and it was a blue chip, and people were buying a lot of it. You can see like kind of the tiny spikes of people buying it up during the time that we were in the bear market. And so I can see that potentially as a problem if we continue to market the go and try to advertise to more of like the Moon Boy crowd, the people that are getting into Doge. A few of them get into it and then they stay with crypto. We want to constantly tell people that yes, we have utility. That will be solidified, when we have the white paper and we actually have the vision coming out saying yes, we have this utility. Come on over, guys. Yes, buy our token. Yes, it is actually going to be lasting during the bear market. Will there be a demo version for the API? We do have plans, as said in the previous Ask Me Anythings, that we are looking to making a very small working product to showcase the utility that would be in the final SDKs, or the blockchain native games that would be built on top of those SDKs, involving the gaming ecosystem that the developers could control, the utility-based NFTs that would be in there, the anti-cheat system, etc. And so yeah, there will possibly be a demo version of that. CS:GO X Dojira when? You know, I don't know, man. Honestly, like our main goal is to really advertise, as was said again in the previous Ask Many Things, to more like indie developers at the start. I mean, yes, of course, gaming studios are there, and yeah, they'll probably want to eventually, if they do stick around, integrate into native blockchain gaming if it does become big, which we believe that it will. That's further down the line that we would, if we do approach these people, but mainly definitely indie developers. Is there a timeline for a first test of the integration / everything on schedule with Splitter still?
Yeah, so that is one thing that has been coming to mind, that right now with me being on the white paper and being on the website and having those as priority to get completed, we may need to push out Splitter Seal by a week or so. I will give an update on that as soon as it's available, but yeah, unfortunately, it is likely that we'll have to push out by at least about a week on that. Now, for it being actually integrated in it, that is a different story. Having it integrated to the point of where, you can literally play with crypto and stuff like that. It is something we're, of course, looking at getting built at some point in the future, we would hope. That's not in concrete before I make any promises that could not be kept, but it's something that we are looking at. But this would be a much more complex kind of beast that we need to build up on it. So yeah, I'll give more information on that kind of as we come towards building out our SDKs and stuff like that. It is possible that this one will be built, like if we're going ahead with that, it would likely be built before we'd have an SDK offering. But yeah, it's something that I would hope we'll be able to get the event side on running as soon as possible. So I know a lot of people are waiting on that.
And the next one is ROI on marketing being tracked. If so, what kind of metrics / analytics are being used right now to evaluate the performance of the marketing campaigns? No, currently it is not. We are monitoring how well it affects just general, mood, price, etc., and just kind of how many impressions it gets as well. So there are smaller ones on the ads themselves, but overall not clicks to the websites and things like that. I'll go ahead and look into that, Jose. And if you're on Telegram, it would be best if you DM me on there. But if you feel like I am not getting back to you on that, or the community in general, please DM me and send a little reminder. So I can go ahead and start attaching some trackers to the URLs that we have.
Yeah, and it's a very difficult one to answer as well. Like return on income on marketing. I mean, we don't benefit directly from this marketing. Well, we benefit indirectly from the coin gaining in value, from us getting more holders on it, building up a larger economy between ourselves and stuff like that. But yeah, actually saying, how much money did we make from it? We could track it maybe against the coin, but we don't have any click-through that can literally tell us if they purchased through Uniswap. We would be able to tell if we were, say, advertising one of our CEXs, but typically we would advertise going to Dojira.net if we were putting it anywhere. And at that point, we can track through if they went to an exchange, but we can't tell what they actually did on it. So yeah, it's a difficult one to track very well, outside of running large enough campaigns to affect volume and seeing what kind of effect it has and what kind of sentiment comes from it.
Right. Does the team have connections or a potential list of game developers for research and beta testing when the product is at a ready state to test?
Yeah, so we do actually have a couple that we will be reaching out to on it, but we want to get a little bit more built into it before we kind of, obviously make any announcements or anything like that. But we are reaching out to potential partners and companies that we may be interested in working in the future. And yeah, we'll give you more information on that one once we do have it available.
What are the long-term plans for Dozier? How do you intend on funding the project should we enter the bear market? It looks like it kind of ties in with the other question below, where it's asking if we can continue operations without selling Doge City tokens at the price point.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a difficult one to kind of give a direct answer on. I know I've given kind of more of a vague one on it, and that like development will continue. The reality is, if we do enter into a deep bear market, then we don't want to sit here selling off massive amounts of tokens, because I think that we're still in a growth stage right now where ideally the only selling off we're doing is a bit of shaving while we're going upwards, that kind of thing. I don't think any member of the team would like us to be back down at, 2 or 3 cents and have to sell off a pile of tokens, because even making rent and things like that would probably cost you a decent amount of your actual tokens. By the time the bull cycle comes back round, you've nothing. So it's something that ideally we would like to avoid having to do. But there are plenty of other ways that we can look into making revenue. And I think particularly when it comes to, say, the NFT market, yes, it might slow down quite a bit. We can still make NFTs, particularly investment NFTs and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways, particularly when we're looking at games development. As games development doesn't really have a bull and bear cycle. It has seasons, but if we were to go into actual game development and we're making something that was worth playing, or we're working with partners who made something that was worth playing, we're not as dependent on the crypto market at that stage. We might see more holders coming in, and maybe they won't buy at a price that they would have during, a bull season, and they won't be accumulating quite as much as you would then. But I wouldn't be unconfident in how we're going to be proceeding beyond that.
Question regarding the sniping bots. Why was this bonus not adjusted to avoid this exploit?
Technically it is, but I can't give much information on that one.
Gotcha. Okay. What fell through or went wrong? So with the fell through part, as he was saying previously, it's just talking to professionals, talking to partners and people that you're working with, and trying to get a hard yes and then following through with that. Like, for example, if I told you, like, I can make some really great artwork, and I know myself, I've been working, making great drawings for years now, and I know that I could probably get you this picture of a shoe drawn up in, a week. And so I give you that week time frame, and then I deliver it. Talking to another group or party, if I say, yeah, hey, can you guys do this? And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. And then they don't do it. It's really hard to make someone do something, and then tell you guys about it without telling you exactly what we're doing, because it's kind of like the whole buy the rumor, sell the news type thing. If you wanted to expand a little bit more on that too, Owen.
Yeah, it's a lot of what we were kind of speaking about earlier, like what fell through or went wrong, because a lot of it is still in the pipeline. We can't really release exact information on it. One of the things that I can't speak on that one either. But we do have something nice that's coming up at the end of this AMA. This is one that thankfully did not fall through. We had to push it back by a day or two. But again, this was pushed back in the thankful knowledge that we hadn't announced anything on it yet. So it's a lot easier for things to be pushed back when there's no expectation about it actually coming out. So I think that's kind of the most important thing to take from this. We've had a lot of things fall through when we're working with promoters or marketers or YouTubers, stuff like that. I mean, one of the videos that we had go up on YouTube, it went up about a month late, and it was practically pointless by the time it went up. And it's kind of the difficult part of it then. When you're paying in cryptocurrency, it's a lot more difficult to actually chase somebody up on it. And when you're talking in amounts of, maybe a couple of $1,000 at maximum, maybe a couple of $100, the price to chase it up costs more money than actually getting it back. So this is unfortunately one of the risks that you're going to take getting into cryptocurrency. And there are even 1 or 2 scams that are really well operated. Like, there's one YouTuber who had their account compromised, and they were a Turkish YouTuber with a lot of views on their channel. But they would send through a message from themselves confirming that they own the channel, etc. And they would get a payment. This guy actually made a video on Dojira, and it looked pretty good. I couldn't understand it, so maybe that was a bit too trusting on my part. But yeah, made a video on Dojira and said, oh no, yeah, I'll just put it live. You just need to give me a small payment. Thinking, oh, that's brilliant service. I wish everybody else did that. I wouldn't have to chase them for weeks. And then the account was gone. So it was stuff like that happens, unfortunately, and it's nearly like having a write-off in theft for insurance. like a shop that would run with that would typically say, 1% is written off as theft. And in crypto, unfortunately, it happens as well. So we've had some things like that. We're generally very careful about actually handing over any money. This thankfully happened a long time ago, back when we were around the 2 cent range. So we didn't have enough money to even allow him to rob from us. But stuff like that happens. I mean, we have people that back out of deals, or people that come through way too late on them. It's unfortunate just how things are going at the moment, particularly in a bull market when people are trying to make quick money wherever they can. And often we find that some YouTubers are taking on, 20, 30 clients at a time, and they might be able to produce like 2 videos a week, stuff like that. We do as much due diligence around this as we can, but unfortunately it comes down to how much truth we're told when working with them. As back when we were at the 2-3 cent range, we weren't really in a position to pay them after the job was done. Nobody knew who we were. Nobody knew who we were. But when it comes down to it now, we're able to be a lot more deliberate in dealing with people like this. So it's a lot safer for us to get things out without, people vanishing with money. But unfortunately, there still is the risk that they will simply not have it out on time, or they won't be available on the day. And as good as it is, kind of, if we get a video and it's out a few days late, whatever, we're still going to get the same traffic. If a couple of things are happening that are time sensitive, like say with reducing the liquidity or anything like that, it can be a lot more devastating when a lot of things fall through on the same day. And that's the unfortunate truth on it. So yeah, a lot of things have gone wrong or fell through in the past. We never really needed to talk too much about them, just for the sole fact that there was no real damage done, because nothing was planned, promised, or expected. The most we'd be able to be maybe $100, which, lesson learned, we'll cover it. But yeah, that's the honest truth on it.
And the next one, just commenting, appreciate Skyler knowing, accepting responsibility, so refreshing, especially in the crypto world. It's reassuring that you can self-reflect in this manner and look to see how to improve for next time. Thank you. And we deeply appreciate you, man. Like, you being a part of the community is what helps us deliver this eventual product to you. And if you guys ever feel that, we're not doing something right, or you see something that could be improved, just DM me, please. What else we got here? Is there going to be a rebranding to separate us from the rest of meme rugs, or is the Dog Godzilla still a viable way for a serious and successful project?
Yeah, I think it is. Like, being honest, Engine is a cool name. I'll give them that much. It is a really cool name. But I think that we've done so much branding and work around Dojira at this point, and it does lend itself to the actual community feel that we have going on here. Like, I think I was saying this with Bingus when we were having our AMA, that yes, we do get people that join in for the meme and then they actually research on the project and they stay in the project. It has still been a brilliant hook for getting people in the door and nearly, tricking them that they've actually invested in, a project with utility, something that takes itself seriously. And that's what we found with a lot of people that are long-term in the token now, that they just randomly aped into it, and then they saw that, we're actually building something, and they stayed in with it. And I think that works for us, being honest. Now, I wouldn't rule it out for, going down the line with it. We could speak on it as a team in the future, and maybe we will make some decisions about it at some point in the future. But I don't think it detracts from our image. Like, I think that, particularly with some stuff we have coming up, I think we're more than capable of making it work to our advantage to be something that would be a detriment.
I think something that would affect us negatively if we, as a community, we don't make thoughtful engagements with people that are outside of our own space. That being, let's say that we're posting, let's say that you want to help out a little bit with community marketing, or you just want to tell people about Dojira. Yes, you can tell them about the great market cap, the potential for upside. Oh, technically compared to these market caps, which, could essentially reel them in, we can get to X price. Now, if we add on top of that we actually have utility, and we compare it, not only the market cap and the price potential, but also the utility based off of these other crypto gaming coins, or these other blue chip coins, or the fact that we, just reiterating the fact that we actually have utility. I think that's the thing that we want to go off of. If we just continuously say, we're going to the moon or whatever, I mean, yeah, it's all fun for like, sarcastic purposes, or, everyone's all hyped up because the price is increasing. But overall, if we just continuously, and I would like to point out McDougall, actually, he should be in the chat right now, because he worded it a lot better than I ever could, to pretty much say utility, 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 and what's our mission, like what's the thing we're doing, utility, and what's XYZ, utility, and it's constantly that. It's kind of placing it in the heads of our entire community, and then placing in the heads of the people that we're talking to that yes, we are in fact utility. They see the funny meme token, they ape into it, and then they find out that we have utility. And if we continuously talk about that, we're seen less as a meme token, and people see a lot less of our community saying moonshot, we go into the Lambo, put something in there, and the people will ape in like that. When did that when was that a thing? Because like I don't remember that being a thing in 2017, 18, like crypto community. I don't remember what are a few other, like To the Moon. I don't remember that being a thing. I don't remember when Lambo being a thing. And then suddenly I start seeing it like 2018 and 19 or whatever at the end of the bull cycle. And so it's whatever new vernacular, whatever new words you see, just utility. That's what we're based off of. What examples can be given of uses of Dojira within the native gaming blockchain? Are marketing costs public? The first one is already answered. Marketing costs, Owen, are they public?
No, at the moment they're not. A lot of that is that we can't make exact receipts available, as it would pretty much immediately indicate what exactly we're going to do. I will speak with the team on that one, and we'll see if we might be able to do up receipts after the fact or make something available on it. Ideally, we would want more hands on deck to do that, as right now I wouldn't really hand it to somebody who's heading up the actual marketing to do a post-mortem available for community consumption that strips out details that we are not allowed to share. And particularly on my end, I definitely wouldn't have time. And Dan, again, is very full on that as well. So I think, coming into the future, I would like to see something like that so we can have a little bit more public transparency around it. Right now, at this exact moment, though, no, they are not public.
Make sure to spend most of the budget on marketing and not hiring excessive people. That was just a comment. Is there an ETA on staking?
Yeah, so just to kind of mention on the comment above it, like spend most of the budget on marketing. It's like, if that's the right thing to do at the time, sure. And we'll spend money on marketing in massive ways. If that's the right thing to do, but it may not be the right thing to do. Like hiring excessive people, I mean, that's an obvious one. Don't hire more people than you need. Great, yeah, I can agree with that one. But on just spending a budget purely on marketing, if we don't have, we don't have an SDK right now, we're going to have one game that we're going to be attached to and doing events within, and not a direct integration that shows off the actual technology that we're working on. We have NFTs, which are pretty cool, but I think so far they've actually managed to market themselves pretty well. So I don't think that they need any additional marketing outside of what we're doing at the moment. If anything, NFTs can work for us. Like, just spending most of the budget on marketing, that's definitely not something I would agree with. It's if it's right to spend money on marketing, then yes, certainly. But we're not going to turn around and dump the entire, our entire ether pool from the liquidity and saying that, okay, well, look, we want to spend 200 grand on marketing and I have no idea where or why, but we're spending it. So like, it's something that we're going to kind of tackle as a team and spend it in a way that will be best for the actual token itself and for the community benefiting from that.
Yeah, and by doing that, by kind of balancing it out and doing it over time as well, it gives us more of an air of legitimacy, as opposed to, as you love to call it, the flash in the pan method of these meme tokens and such. There's always like some type of constant presence with the other tokens that you notice, but you don't exactly see all the time. Why not capitalize on the meme coin hype, considering we had a huge pump with the race to $1 meme? Dojira have utility. I believe we already covered that a little bit. We can do that at certain times, and we can do that with certain coins in certain markets. But overall, like, let's say that we did it right now, it will get a lot less people than what we did before.
Yeah, like we've kind of covered over that one in that it's great when people, fall into our coin and they accidentally, invest in something that's a bit more serious. For some people, they literally want to buy stuff like Akita and Shiba. I mean, those coins have flown. So, I mean, I wouldn't begrudge them for it. But what we're building is different than that. And on capitalizing on the meme coin hype, I mean, I think to an extent, the community at a minimum did. I mean, a lot of people fell into this project, like I said before, looking for a meme coin. And, they stuck around after actually investigating on the project. But then you've got other people that, people on Hotbit, when they didn't have enough liquidity for their launch and it went up to $1.50 and they thought it was a meme coin, it's going to pump really hard from here. And then they see boring people like, me sitting in a room saying, no, I'm developing, go away. And I think it's great if the community, brings on that meme coin community. And I think it's a brilliant thing to have in just being able to, have fun with that kind of stuff. But like, there's no real capitalizing on it when the team aren't actively pushing for it. I think we have great memes. That's one thing I could say, but it's not something that we're actively pushing on. Like, I think that when it comes into a bear season, I think a lot of people will be happy that we're not in that market.
Oh no, absolutely not. Those usually just get all sold, the meme ones.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next, is there a date when we can expect to be on the new exchange? We can't give specific dates. See.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's especially when it comes to large exchanges, they typically can take quite a bit longer to get on than the ones we're currently with. Large exchanges, when you're getting onto a small exchange, they're getting quite a lot out of the listing money, and then they get volume, and then they can scrape bits off of that. The reality is they need money a lot more than the large exchanges need money, so they're much easier to get onto. On the larger ones, you either have to already have an absolutely parabolic market cap, or you have to have a project that they are interested in having on their exchange, which puts us in a good position in that we have, a lot of things that we have on offer. Like, we're building into an actual utility token, so we can actually fight our own corner on this stuff, which is great. But it does take quite a while to get through all of those conversations and negotiations, figuring out the price you're coming in at, stuff like that. So, you shouldn't expect it to be happening super fast. That's kind of a grim reality that I would have to kind of put down on it, that this stuff does take time, but it is a priority for us.
Gotcha. Would the team consider outsourcing / paying for the new website in order to free up workloads for more crucial updates?
Yeah, at this point, when it comes to the actual website itself, it's so near to completion that it's not worth it at this stage. If we knew that we'd have to rejuggle some resources, then yeah, this would have been something that we would have investigated beforehand. So it's unfortunate that it kind of was as late in the day as it was, but at this point it's simply faster to finish it and just continue on.
Right, next one's a comment. The one after that, thank you for the AMA. Currently you have said you are taking over the white paper, and you're currently working on the websites, juggling a lot on the product already. Who's currently working on the product, and do you think the timeline is now delayed from the Q3/Q4 with Chris leaving? Assuming he's referencing the SDK product in Q3.
Yeah, so on my side, that's kind of the down part on it, that my development was hopefully going to be on actual experiences that utilize the SDK while also lending towards the SDK where possible. Now that, Chris has left the project, yeah, obviously we have to sit down and have a think about how we're getting that built out. It is still a priority for us. For myself, I mean, it is something that I could take on and begin building, but I think that at that stage we really are stretching our resources far too thin. So this is something that we're going to have to come back and look at when we have new developers on board with the project and bring them up to speed on what we're actually building. With juggling things myself, it's a couple of things at the moment, but well, we'll get through them. It's important stuff for the token and important stuff for the community, so we will make that work. And yeah, we'll have more information then on the actual timeline for Q3 and Q4 as we get a little bit closer into it.
Did Chris receive a portion of the pooled liquidity funds prior to leaving the project?
All tokens that were given to Chris were given back by Chris. Chris held on to a portion of the initially staked Dojira tokens, which we allowed him to keep just for work done to date. But for, say, Ether or anything additional, that was returned. You can check on the actual liquidity wallet itself.
Now, the crowd wants to know when you're going to release an audiobook.
Lovely. That could be another revenue stream for us as well. If things don't work out, if the video game market collapses as well, we start making podcasts where Owen talks about stuff that used to exist rather than stuff that will hopefully exist in the future.
MacDougall added on to the comment that I said earlier. What he said is, tell them what you're going to tell them what you told them. So basically, tell them that we're going to show them the utility, and reiterate that we have utility. So yeah, I mean, even though it's very repetitive in nature, it's good to remember that we just have to say that over and over and over again and again and again in order to get it into people's heads that that's what we're about, and we're not about just to the moon when Lambo. Let's see. This other guy saying, remember Owen, stuff like Cardano, and EOS run on pure hype and future promises. Tron. I appreciate the utility focus, but you can get a lot of money from people equivalent to getting VC, so it can create a cycle to create unnecessary hype and actually fuel more expansion and utility. I mean, I can see that happening right now. I don't believe so because of the bear market previously. I mean, there is a possibility of that, but I mean, that would be rather hard to compete with the dog market, I guess you could call it. Possibly in the next bull cycle, there might be that. But I don't want to run into any Tron issues. I like to use that one a lot because I was once it was made, I kept seeing the people saying like Tron's going to get to $10 or like $1,000. I'm sure you guys all seen that meme too. Didn't they just like when they were done with that? Didn't they just like buy a game studio or something and said, yeah, this is our tech or something like that? I mean,
yeah, it's so like there's kind of two sides on that one. Like, I think that when you're creating, as you put it, kind of unnecessary hype, like there's a kind of a difference between hyping what you're building and then hyping what you're not building, and that's something that I want to make sure that we steer extremely clear of. I don't want to see us hyping up something that won't tangibly exist or anything like that. So in speaking about the project itself, I think once we do have the white paper out, we'll be a lot more comfortable in speaking about the stuff that we're building at the moment. Now, when you speak about, like, say, Cardano or Cardano, is that what you call it, Skyler?
It's Cardano. No, it's that
one of my favorite tokens, and you butchered the name. But so obviously I'm biased in giving this answer. I think that Cardano has certainly run into some issues over time, but we still have to take a look at what it has actually accomplished in between that. And yes, maybe it should have accomplished a lot more at this stage. But I think that if they do manage to actually meet their promise with smart contracts and being added into the actual token, like that's, I think that Cardano will actually, I think it will be one of kind of the better coins that will be out at that stage. And now again, I could be having another Tron situation here where, I'm sitting here hyping something that might not actually come out, but I have a decent amount of trust. I have a decent amount of trust in the Cardano project. And I would like to think that people buying into Dojira would have a decent amount of trust in us too, because of the honesty that we would display in speaking about the things that we talk about, and also not talking about things that we are not, very sure about. And albeit, yes, we did have a weekend of things kind of falling through, stuff like that. That's disappointment that we don't want to see on a large scale. I mean, every project will have hiccups and road bumps and stuff like that. But, if you're building a project based on pure hype, or you're buying into something that's just on pure hype and you don't know much about the people behind it, and you don't trust them, like that's kind of how you get burned. And that's not something that we want to do. Like, if people feel like they've been burnt by Dojira, they're not going to buy back in, and they're certainly not going to tell their friends to buy in. They might tell their enemies to buy in, and maybe their enemies have a lot of money. Who knows? But it's not a good business model to follow either way. So it is something that I would generally be wary of. I try to speak more about news when we have news. Now, in saying that, yes, maybe I am a little too conservative on that front, in that I will wait until the last second. I'll tell you about something as it's literally happening. And yeah, maybe that is a little bit too conservative when it comes to marketing efforts. But it's something that the team will be discussing in the near future, like how we're going to be marketing moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to hype people up for some. I mean, I guess it'd be similar also to the white paper release, where I don't want to hype somebody up, and you don't want to. Nobody wants to hype somebody up where we get them a promised future product and then we just can't deliver because it's not possible, because it's just something we can't do. So definitely extensive research and being absolutely sure that we can do something before speaking on it. Will there be community rewards for advertising or marketing?
Yeah, we used to have Doge Blitz until we had to pull the Doge City V2 up and put down. Pull Doge City up and put down Doge City V2. So this is something that we do want to get back into, particularly with event rewards and stuff like that. We'd like them to be a little more proactive, so that people can actually, jump into it and, give some level of verifiable proof that, something was done on it and that you're contributing to the actual coin gaining a following. Now, there's another side of it as well, in that, everybody in here, I'm assuming, is holding at least a small bag of Dojira, and if you're advertising the coin and more people are getting on board with it, you're pumping your own bag, that kind of thing. But similarly, yes, we do understand that people, particularly for kind of high effort campaigns, would want to see a little bit extra Dojira go into their wallet as well. So yeah, it's something that the team are going to talk about and see what we can do about bringing that sort of stuff back.
Absolutely. And I mean, to answer the question that was floating around that I've seen already like 3 or 4 times, not in this channel, but before, yes, you will get tokens if you participated in that TikTok campaign. What is that word? Campaign. If you participated in that, then yes, you will get that. And there are more competitions, more community events coming up later for general community marketing. Pretty much just going back to what Owen is saying there. Let's see. You mentioned that ADA, for example, as alternative blockchain. To have
just call Cardano ADA instead of ADA.
I'm not going to speak on that. Yes, whatever, man. That word, that letter, those letters. So would it be considered, would it be possible to have it as an alternative blockchain to have NFTs and gaming related stuff on? And if we could also possibly use Matic or Polygon, and they're saying that Matic in general, you see projects like Chain Games or IG Gold as, do you see them as competition? There's a lot of, do you see this question? There's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, just hold on to it now.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, are we considering jumping onto the Matic Polygon chain? And how do we see projects like Chain Games or IG Gold as competition? I haven't looked into much on IG Gold. On Chain Games, no, honestly, I think that really these, like Chain Games and Engine, are 2 projects that I've looked in on a decent bit, and I think that really what Dojira is doing would be in complement to them rather than in competition with them. I think for a lot of projects that are breaking into this kind of space, we have a lot more to learn from each other than it is worth to basically go against each other in it. Like, it is a massive market that we're moving into at the moment, and I think it's only going to get much bigger. I mean, when you consider you're looking at a combination of cryptocurrency and video gaming, there will be a lot more than just one project that will be, running at a large scope in this kind of area. So I certainly think that there's far more to learn from each other and far more to gain from, complementing each other than going up against each other. When it comes to, say, going on to Polygon, see, one of the big problems that I have at the moment with if we were to airdrop onto another chain is that realistically, if we wanted to do this seamlessly and wanted literally nobody to even notice apart from having to hit one button, it would probably be BEP20 we'd go on to, like the Binance Smart Chain. Now, that has enough issues in itself from a development perspective, but we would be able to use the same wallet ID. Like, we would just airdrop in the amount that you have right now onto BEP20 and done. You finished now you're on the project and that's it. If we were to move on to, like, say, Cardano was what I was mostly looking at up top, as you said. But like, if you have a different wallet address, that's game. How do we get it? Do we have to make a new bridge to go across these 2 things? And it turns into a much bigger issue. And we might have 2 different tokens that are running at the same time, stuff like that. So
Yeah, it's a difficult one to give a succinct answer to. When it comes to staking, then I think yes, we can, because we can have you enter a wallet ID before you start staking. And if you stake without one, or you just type in a random bunch of letters, really, like, at that point the blame is no longer on us. We can kind of give you clear instructions on how to get your tokens airdrop to you or get your staking rewards. So I think off-chain stuff, it is far more likely as staking rewards than it would be for us actually airlifting off of Ethereum onto another token. Of course, Binance Smart Chain, it's something we're looking at. We would absolutely love to have those gas prices, but as we all know, there are issues with centralization that we don't want to kind of be deeply involved with. And then there's just issues that would be, issues that are kind of inherent to the Binance Smart Chain as well. But it's a good question, and it's something that the team are going to speak a little bit more about in the future.
The next one is Verlotta Finance, or Real, will bring us great marketing around Brazil. How can we use those marketing efforts to distribute online? And that is in the works. I am in contact with Suzu and Bob Buffett and a few other people that are from the team of the people at Real, along with some other people. And so, yeah, those are that's in the works. Yes, doing joint Ask Me Anything with other projects, great for exposure. Yeah, absolutely it is. Bingus and Real were absolutely great hosts, and we do intend on doing more of those in the future. Are there any YouTubers, streamers, gamers, future partners in the works? Since we are a gaming token, that would be amazing. A lot of stuff that involves that and other marketing things are in the works. Again, it's the whole buying the rumor, selling the news type thing. That's that one. Did you want to add anything, Owen?
No, I think you've covered up on it perfectly there.
Another guy, are you afraid of losing momentum?
No, honestly, like, even if we are going into a bear season or anything like that, and I mean, this is the reality of it, that I know there's been, as somebody said there a little short while ago, there's a lot of FUD in the Telegram and stuff like that. People are frustrated, people are angry, people are dropping bags, sometimes even at a loss. And this is what happens when the market turns red. And I've seen it enough times now that, and I don't mean to sound condescending on this one. I know it is frightening when you see it happening, and it's not nice for me to sit here, see it happening either. Like, nobody likes seeing a big red market. Well, apart from the bears, they quite like it. But nobody likes seeing that kind of stuff. But it doesn't bother me all that much. These happen. There's cycles that go in and go out, and good projects tend to live through those bear cycles regardless. Yes, there'll be pressure under it, and it can be draining on your morale when you're in a project for what can seem like decades, when it's only, a 2 or 3 year cycle waiting for the next bull run. But these happen, and I'm not afraid of. So it's not even of losing momentum. Like, everything enters into a bear cycle, and we have to go into development mode when that happens. We have to actually build value for the next bull run that we run into. It's not a fear of losing momentum. It's more, it's inevitable that when the market cools down, everything will lose momentum. It's more what we make of that time and actually come into the next bull season with, what kind of value we can actually draw from that. So no, I definitely wouldn't be afraid of it.
Yeah, and being like having momentum lost is like price wise, or product, or work wise, because there's like 2 or 3 cryptocurrency companies that I invested in around 2017, 2018, and they had leading professionals at the front that managed multi-million-dollar, and I was like, oh, this is exciting, this is awesome. It's not just I'm going to $1, it's going to go beyond that, because I'll be a part of their ecosystem, and they're building something amazing. And there were 2 of them, and the price did kind of lose momentum, but it was mainly their work ethic. They didn't really do anything because they weren't receiving funds from the community to then sell the tokens or get the liquidity from it, or whatever they were doing, and they weren't able to continue that work, and so they just stopped doing it. They stopped updating Twitter, and they stopped updating Telegram and Discord, and they just kind of fell off the face of the earth, and then everybody sold, and then they never came back. And so I lost all of that stuff on those ones, even though they were legitimate companies. It's mainly like the work ethic, because we can pick up price momentum again. There's always that potential of market cap versus price versus, how many people are actually buying and selling, et cetera. And, is there a working product? But I really believe it's mainly the working product. Let's see. Sir, when Binance? No, we are not listing on Binance for this upcoming SEX. It is going to be a large SEX, but not Binance. Favorite foods, Owen, and why is it?
Just on the last, we launched on Binance about an hour ago. Did nobody know? No, we didn't actually launch on Binance, obviously, but we appreciate the memes either way. But Binance. Like, to kind of put clear on that one again, Binance are currently the gold standard of exchanges and are incredibly expensive to get listed on. So it's not something we're aiming for at the moment. And my favorite foods, I'm on a big chicken thing lately, mostly because like chicken is pretty quick to cook. So it's kind of sad saying it out loud now that I'm thinking about it, but I'm cooking the quickest meals I can so I can get back to my desk. So yeah, maybe I should make a little bit more room for, exercise and social interaction, that kind of stuff in there. But I know, in seriousness, no, I have lived off chicken and rice for, I think, about a decade. So yeah, that's got to be in there.
Will there be a demo version for the API? And would it be in, what languages will it be built in?
So it's an SDK that we'd be building, which would be, it wouldn't be something that you would call RESTfully or anything like that. We may have some API systems in the future, but so what was that then? What languages would it be written in, or
would there be multiple languages? Let me see exactly what they wrote there. What languages will the API be built for?
So if you mean the actual SDK itself, so we'd likely be looking at having one of the first versions out on generic popular game engine, likely be Unity, as that's what I've worked with for a long time now. Then there's other things like Godot, systems like that, which could be useful as well to jump onto. Unreal Engine is a little bit more difficult to build those style of plugins for. Right now, one of the easiest ways that you can integrate with, say, Unity or something that would export to WebGL is that your browser can actually just, hook to MetaMask itself. So it's very simple for us to put in a JavaScript messaging service to sit between the browser and MetaMask and actually get events that are sent back onto it and fire them up to MetaMask. So yeah, it'd like to be something that would export for WebGL. That's kind of the easiest way of giving the answer on that one. For languages then, each engine would have its own language. So Unity is obviously in C#. In Unreal Engine, you'd be looking at C++. But I don't think the Unreal Engine has any support for WebGL anymore. I think a lot of that kind of went away when Flash went away. Now that we're seeing MetaMask come back into the fray, I'm wondering, will we start seeing a resurgence in actual web portals being opened up for gaming again? Especially now that it's, easier than ever to accept. That's actually the one use case that I could understand if you were doing payments for. A lot of developers that go through, say, some of the web portals that are online, like one particular one I've worked with, they take 50% commission. And that's just kind of insane. But if you allow them to say, yeah, just build in your own stuff, just build in your own hooks on it, or just hook to this, we can, the developers stand to make much more money from it. And that's one of the reasons that browser gaming is dying. It wasn't really because of Flash dying. It was because it was getting increasingly difficult to actually generate revenue from it. There was still a lot of people playing web games. Congregate, when Splitter Steel was launched on there, I think it got 150,000 unique plays on there, which, I wasn't even anywhere near one of the top games on there. So, I think that might be something we'll see come back into the fray if we were to start targeting WebGL systems, that there's room for portals like that to actually come back. And they were getting plenty of traffic. They just weren't able to monetize on it. People weren't really spending. They weren't really clicking ads or anything like that. When they did go to spend, it was always through convoluted systems where you had to, say with Congregate, you had to buy credits through PayPal, and then you had to spend it in the game, and it was always just awkward to run through. I think that is one area where actual payments can start helping out, because these developers all stopped making for web because they weren't making any money anymore. So sorry, a very long-winded answer to what was a more simple question. But yeah, it varies by the engine or the platform that we'd work with.
I'll answer this one. Can we say we have a former lead Doge dev? LOL. Lead is important. We can say that we have a lead developer that used to be a Doge developer that worked with Digibyte. I mean, that one works.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one because at the time I was the only developer. Like Jackson and Billy launched the coin, but like they weren't really like. I'm not sure if it was that they weren't developers or that they weren't crypto developers, but either way, there was confusion as to how to change anything. I know they got the random block rewards in, but at the time, I was the only one that was actually developing on it. And then other developers came and went over that time as well. So, yeah, does it count as lead if you just jump in for the time you're needed and then jump out? You've lead developer who worked on Doge. Well, whatever works for you.
The next one is thought. Oh, go ahead.
I was just about to say, like, the general thing with titles in programming and stuff like that. I've like maybe it's more of a programming thing, but whenever we hear like, oh yes, this is the senior lead staff architect, engineer, developer, we all just kind of roll our eyes a bit and go, okay, you're a programmer, just get on with it. But yeah, although even in saying that, there's differences between a programmer and like an engineer, I think. Like programmer is like just pumping out the code. Engineer is more thinking about the problems and engineering a solution. But sorry, this is just late night rambling at this stage. We'll get on with the questions so we can get a few more in.
Has the team thought of increasing supply to make the token more appealing to Moon Boys? We have. I don't think it's a great idea. I think that Owen is in agreement with that.
Yeah, it's I would like if we could do something like if we had a mint function in the contract, and thankfully we don't. At that point, yeah, maybe I'd put it up a little bit because right now I think that a lot of stuff we're looking at for off-chain stuff, as in, making other currencies and stuff like that. If we did have more Dojira tokens, then we probably could have actually done, currency mixed into it. It's not so fun when you only have 100 million tokens and it's already like gone above the 1 cent mark, essentially. Like you don't want to. Like the point of Dogecoin, one of it was that like, oh yeah, you can still like pick up 1 million of them in the future. It turns out they're wrong. If you have 1 million of them today, then you're actually quite a bit of money. But yeah, I think when it comes to in-game currency and stuff like that, particularly in those hyperinflation markets that you get in MMOs, you need a lot more tokens. It's just the reality of it. So yeah, maybe on and off chain, but for Dojira, like I said, I'm looking at that as more as the gold standard, and I don't want to airdrop people onto a new contract just to increase the amount of tokens. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But I mean, it's something that we'll talk about as a team and see would it be worth putting another zero on, but it wouldn't be for Moonboy economics. It would be, we need genuine purpose and reason for that stuff. And I think if we're looking at Dojira being gold to stake other stuff with, it's actually better to keep a smaller amount of tokens and keep them feeling a little bit more rare and valuable.
See, what is the best way to buy Dojira and also the best wallet to use? Really your preference. I would suggest Uniswap and MetaMask just from my experience. But with gas fees and such, if you can get in Hotbit or Whitebit, then go ahead and do that. Let's see. Will this bearish downturn affect the timeline for our new sex listing?
We kind of have to look and see what way the market goes over the next couple of days. Like I said, I'm looking at this kind of worst case. It might be just a leg down before we go sideways and then take another leg up. But if it is coming into a full bear season, yeah, maybe the team will kind of look at it and say, would there be a better time to catalyst onto another exchange, or is it easy enough to buy the token right now? Like, are we limiting our growth by not kind of pursuing that avenue anyway? But it's something that the team will look at in the days to come and as kind of our talks go on. But right now, it's definitely nothing that I would put concern under or anything like that. Like, if it's a bear market that we're entering into, a long bear market, then yeah, maybe we'd take it a bit more seriously and holding on to funds at that stage. But it's something we'll give a little bit more info on as the days go on. Right now, we just simply can't predict what way it's going to go. Everybody has an opinion on it, but can't predict it in stone.
Next one, you did talk about it before. Someone said something about Dojira being used for anti-cheat tech, and yes, by building the native blockchain games onto our SDKs, it would be able to have the anti-cheat tech, which is offered by the inherent values that is part of the blockchain. Next one, Skyler, what kind of animal are you? Owen, you're gonna have to answer this one too, because I don't know what animal I am. What do you think?
I absolutely don't know what animal you are. You talk about you talk about Dan's kangaroos a lot. Do you have a kangaroo thing going on?
You know what? I guess I'll be a kangaroo then.
Perfect.
I don't know. You got something in your picture there. It's a cat, so you're a cat. Let's see. Next, will Dojira get on Ledger? Also, do you think Binance and MetaMask are safe? With Binance and MetaMask, I mean, that's kind of subjective. I would say that yes, MetaMask is safe. Just guys, please don't go on any weird sites and log on to your MetaMask with it. Make sure you confirm all URLs, and you should be relatively safe. Do not connect to public Wi-Fi. List goes on of things that you can avoid. What do you mean by get on Ledger? I mean, is that like just a cold storage thing? I mean, you're kind of already on that.
I'm not sure if we're supported on Ledger. I think there is. I think the Ledger. I could be completely wrong on this. I actually have my new ledgers downstairs, so I have to go and I have to actually go and get them set up. But I think on the Ledger X, the larger one, it supports general ERC20 tokens, in which case it might support Dojira, which should support Dojira, but I haven't actually checked it. I believe it does. I'm hoping it does because, maybe I'll tell you what, I'll try transfer or hook one coin to it and see if it still works then. But I believe it would. It supports ERC20, so there's no reason that it shouldn't. On Binance and MetaMask, on Ledger, on the Nano or the Mini one, I don't think it supports all ERC20, so maybe not on that one. But on Binance and MetaMask, so Binance is a centralized network, and I have personally got a lot of trust in them, but I also personally had a lot of trust in Cryptsy before they took a couple of million Dogecoin from me and a couple of thousand Litecoin. And I do sometimes think, how rich I would be if I still had that, but the reality is, or at least what I tell myself is, I probably would have cashed it out a lot earlier than today. So there were times that I would have wanted that money. For Binance, it's a centralized exchange. If you're not trading actively, maybe store it locally, store it in a cold wallet. That's my general recommendation. MetaMask is as safe as you are. If you know what you're doing and you're not logging onto sites and typing in your recovery phrase or anything like that, or copy and pasting private keys out of it, it's very safe. But again, you could have a keylogger installed on your systems. There's security risks in absolutely everything. But as long as you look after yourself and look after your own security, then MetaMask is as secure as you are.
For the last 3 minutes, do you want to cover the stuff that we have for tonight that we were talking about, or do you want to run through questions and then do that?
There's 3 minutes. We can pick your favorite question and we'll run on that one.
Will the staking be introduced alongside the new website?
No, it won't be, unfortunately. And there weren't any plans to introduce staking immediately with the new website that we're launching up. The new website we're putting up is more about our branding than anything else. The staking is something that we're still working on. Right now, there's nothing to stake. We could speak to we're interested in speaking with our partners and seeing if they want to do some token exchanges for staking and stuff like that. But right now, there's just nothing to actually stake. If we did have our own off-chain coins and stuff like that we were using in games or otherwise, then that would be something very ideal to start staking on there. But right now, there's simply nothing to stake.
All right. And just this one as a bonus round. What separates Dojira from Engine?
There's a lot of different letters. And yeah, so a lot of what Engine would be working on would not be kind of directly related to SDKs or anti-cheat or stuff no, they've got their SDK stuff in there, but I wouldn't be focusing on the more utility related stuff like anti-cheat or gaming directly on the blockchain. It's it's difficult to give a full answer on that one. That the projects can complement each other, but we do touch over on each other in certain areas as well. Like, yeah, I'm sure there is a more succinct answer to that one, but yeah, that's the differences between the two of us can be summarized mostly in the utility that we're aiming for and the utility that they are aiming for. And of course, some of that can have overlaps already, or we might have overlaps that kind of appear over time. I think a lot of that comes down to, I suppose, ourselves and looking at what engine are actually doing and being able to kind of work around that stuff rather than, running on top of it. It's not much use if we're both developing the exact same thing. Because one of us will do it better, and that's great if it's us, but similarly, we could develop something that complements it. So I think it's something that needs maybe a little bit more investigation over a longer period of time to see where we're going in the future with it. But yeah, right now, the biggest thing separating between the two of us, because neither of us, have released our products yet, would probably be market cap.
Absolutely. There's so much potential for upside, and even though we share similarities, we also have a different goal. There's going to be some overlap there. Please stay for this next little thing that we have. Owen's going to be able to summarize it a lot more eloquently than I could. So
I don't know. It's getting late, man. I might trip my words, but we'll try and get through it. So Skyler has done some fantastic work with Vira-Lata, who themselves have been doing fantastic work with a lot of the animal charities that they're supporting across Brazil. We're delighted to announce, unfortunately in a red market, but we're certain that we could still make an absolutely fantastic go at this. A list of... Oh, I told you I'd flip my words, Skyler.
You're good. Do you want me to kind of say it? Like, are we saying everything pretty much?
Yeah, no, we're fantastic to announce that we're combining our forces together to put together a new NFT set, which is going to combine being a charitable donation and an investment NFT. So similar to our original CEX fundraiser, this one will actually be going 84% to charity, 6% to Dojira, and 10% to the artist. The artist is, what community member was it, Skyler?
It's your mom. It really is. That's his name. His name is your mom.
Yeah. It's your mom. Perfect. But yeah, so the NFTs, similar to the CEX edition NFT, a little bit cheaper, are coming in at $600, and it will give an investment reward of today's value of $300 worth of Dojira. Now, I haven't checked the chart in a little while, but I will do so now. So similarly to the last one, you get the NFT, you get 50% of the value in Dojira that will be held for 1 month from today. And let me get the actual value of Dojira that you will receive for it. And additionally, if you pick up 4 of them, so there will be 4 different types of NFT, and the NFTs are actually fantastic. They're based around animals that the money is actually going to help, like the literal animals, like not just a generic dog in the background. Skyler, do you want to give a little bit of information on that bit while I get the pricing up here?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was working with Vira-Lata Finance or Real, I wanted to give more of a sense of like you're actually helping the animal. So I requested pictures, and I got about 10 to 15 pictures of each animal from different angles so the artist can model them correctly. And then he threw that into the NFT, and there's also, when you see it, there are pictures of the actual animal inside the NFT as well. And yes, the donations will be going out to those shelters. Currently, how it's looking on that front is that 50% of the donation will be going to an emergency fund, which the wallet will be like visible for everybody to see. And whenever there is an issue in that community, they apply for the funds through Vira-Lata. They get it after a certain vetting process with them and examination from them as well. And the other 50% goes out to monthly donations to 5 shelters, which will be listed so you guys can see, look them up. They're going to be sending out thank you messages and everything else like that. And we are currently working with Real to talk with their community and kind of, have them talk about us as well with those NFTs coming out. As Owen said before, about 84% are going to them, and 6% to us and 10% to the artist. And let's see, that is about it with them.
Yeah, but the biggest thing about that, if I don't think I actually mentioned the full numbers on it. So there's 4 unique NFTs. There'll be 50 of each NFT. If you pick up all 4 NFTs, you will be entered into a competition, another lottery-based competition, which was set up via webcam because this is a much bigger one. This is for $10,000 worth of Dojira at today's value. So all 4 of them can net you 98,000 Dojira. Well, we'll round it up and call it 100,000 Dojira. And with that value in mind, then that's about 3,000 Dojira that you will get vested and staked into you and released after 1 month. So you get automatic diamond hands for it. So with there being 200 of them going out at $600 each, that means that we are raising a total amount of 120,000, I believe. Let me make sure I'm getting the math on it correct. Bring up the calculator.
About 100,800 is going to Riao, if all are sold.
Yeah, so over $100,000 donation to a fantastic cause. And finally, I can put rest as to why we repaired the price yesterday. We were buying Dojira at a discount to put into these NFTs. Now, granted, it obviously dipped again today, which is making me actually going to look at it because I'm going to buy more Dojira, but we have plenty at the moment. We picked up enough of it that we were able to cover this coming through from it. So obviously with this being an investment NFT, this isn't money that we're, returning into our pockets or anything like that. The 6% will mostly go towards overhead. And obviously the artists will get the full cost of their hard work that they put into this. And the rest of it then goes on to in-need animal shelters with our partners at Vira Lata. So I think that this is a absolutely fantastic thing you've set up on this, Skyler. It's a lot of money to a fantastic cause, and I mean it's the fact that we're in a red market right now. I think that we're still going to be able to raise a huge amount of money for these causes, especially with the fact that you're staking in some Dojira for it, and in a month's time, if everything is back in the green, then that Dojira will be worth a lot more than what you paid for the NFT. And of course, you'll always have the NFT that you can either hoard and keep to yourself, or you can sell it on again in the future. I think some of our CEX edition NFTs were up for a lot more than they were paid for, particularly coming up to the actual vesting date, as the value had increased so much. People wanted to try and pick them up so they could get discount Dojira from it. So, in my opinion, if things turn around, and hopefully they will, but if they do, you're looking at a good return on investment for yourself or for whoever you may sell onto. And you're also helping an absolutely fantastic cause, which I'm sure will have a lot of eyes again on the community and the brilliant work that's being done at Vira Lata and at ourselves.
And on that note, just very, very vague, yes, we are going to be doing stuff with Bingus. Owen, may I mention a little bit on that, or?
How much have we mentioned on it already? So have we mentioned anything on this one yet?
About nothing, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
nothing.
All right, got it.
Yeah, so I would say, I'd say let's keep that one in the bag for a little bit. It's something we are greatly looking forward to, but let's
I was already talking about it, like very vague, the same way I was during the Ask Me Anything, so it's already out there. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll give you much more information on that as it gets a little bit closer. But for right now, we're going to be focusing on getting this NFT range up and running. And we'll have a link in the Telegram and in the Discord in no time. And for our own side then, the development end, we're going to get back hard at work on the white paper and on the new website that we're going to try and get launched as soon as possible, guys.
All right. And yeah, I mean, that's about it. Did you want to add anything at the end of here, Owen?
Yeah, I guess I know days like today, particularly on the market and with Dojira taking a heavy hit as well, that stuff is painful to look at. Nobody likes it. It's easy for me as a developer to sit and go I'm just going to keep developing. I know it's a lot harder when you feel like you're a lot less in control, when you're just kind of looking at the numbers going up and down, stuff like that. If you believe in the project and you believe that what we're doing, is going to make a difference moving forward, and, outside of even, the charitable causes that we're supporting, we have a lot of technology that we're building as well. And I think that this technology is going to be absolutely ingrained into gaming in the like, I'm not even going to say far future, it's more like the midterm future. We're already at a short term where we could start using this technology. And as we start seeing layer 2 scaling roll out, I think it's going to become a lot more common in games. And maybe it'll just be for, login purposes. Maybe we'll see new web portals that are being opened up, or maybe we'll see much deeper integrations of it in the very near future, where we actually do have those full ecosystems running purely off currency tokens and purely off NFTs. Like, there's a new kind of world waiting ahead on this stuff, and I think we're really at the forefront of it. So with the market being down at the moment, yeah, it sucks. Like, that's just a plain and simple fact of life. Nobody likes seeing it. But me personally, like, having staked in this project, like, I'm not concerned if we need to wait through a bear season. I think the project does have the legs to actually go the distance on it. And particularly with the hard work that Skyler and Dan are putting in as well, like, I think we have much better days ahead than today's day on the market. So keep your heads held high, keep hydrated, and try and keep your spirits up with it. Again, I know much easier said than done, but at the end of the day, what goes down in cryptocurrency typically comes back up. Historically, the cryptocurrency market has only gone in one direction. Thanks all. Speak soon.